This should be a high-scoring affair if the trends hold. Arkansas averages better than 88 points a game. LSU, the 5th most efficient offensive team in the country. They average nearly 86. Thomas will get the start, number 24 in white for LSU, the leading scorer in the SEC and just a freshman. Trenton Watford will jump center against 7'3" sophomore Connor Vanover. Interesting matchup between those two we'll get into a little bit later on. Don Daly puts it in the air, and Arkansas controls the tip. The Razorbacks coming off of a dominating win against Georgia as they won by 30, 99-69. Here's Vanover getting a touch, guarded by Darius Days. Moses Moody, the talented freshman, puts up his first shot. Offensive rebound by Vance Jackson, and he rolls it in.
That's been a problem for LSU all season long. Their first shot defense, LSU, it's okay, it's not great, but man, I'm telling you what, their second shot defense and giving up shots on the glass, just not good enough.
Dead last in the SEC at defensive rebounding percentage, under 70%. Here's Watford, an air ball from point-blank range. Jimmy, it was interesting talking with Eric Musselman. Their coaching staff had a decision to make coming into this game. Were they willing to push it, and did they want to push the tempo? It seems like the answer was yes.
Yeah, Arkansas is not afraid to run with anybody. And Vanover's an interesting guy. There's the second offensive rebound in this game for Arkansas. Arkansas starting off, Tom, sending 3 guys hard to that off the glass. If LSU only rotates down with their body and not their mind to get on the glass, this could be a long night for LSU on their home floor.
Another board for Arkansas as Jackson pushes it forward. Vanover couldn't handle the pass, a little behind him, and a turnover on the missed pass from Jalen Tate.
And the question for Arkansas, Tom, with Connor Vanover in that starting lineup, can he guard, can he defend in this game? He's a 7'3" guy that LSU is going to drag away from the rim. Can he hold his own defensively and impact the game offensively? Talking about 23 in red.
Here's Thomas. He can score from anywhere. Puts up the 3, and he takes a lot of shots. 9th in the country in percentage of shots when he's on the floor. Wofford trying to clean it up, and an offensive board results in points for LSU.
Yeah, Trenton Watford is wired to score, as is 3 of his teammates. He and Days and Smart and Thomas, all 4 of those guys I just named, Tom, can go for 20 at any time.
Jimmy, where's Cameron Thomas best in the half court for LSU?
Well, he can score from all over the floor, but his sweet spot is on the far right slot, and we'll talk about as this game goes on. But he has a complete understanding of how to score as a freshman. That's wide open. Let it rip.
And Vanover can do just that at 7'3", shooting 32% from deep.
So the start for Arkansas is clean in terms of can Vanover play in this game. He's held his own defensively, and he's an offensive factor that time with the trail 3.
He's now matched up with a 6'5" forward in Wilkinson. Here's Thomas down the lane, off the heel and rolls through.
Tom, talking about Thomas, he is so explosive on the touch of the ball. Like, he's always organized with his feet, with his hands. He's not hesitating on the touch as a scorer.
Nothing doing on the 3 for Arkansas. LSU the other way. Javonte Smart, no. Finds it. And LSU will reset. LSU scores a lot of points because they're highly efficient, even though they're middle of the pack in the country in tempo. Here's Wofford off the window.
Just bullied the entire Arkansas defense. Will Wade goes to a corner empty set, meaning that there's no one in that ball side corner, so it just turns into a complete one-on-one game for Watford. And you forget the dude's 6'9", 230 handling that ball.
Nice feed inside. Pressure is there from Days, and Devontae Davis couldn't get it to go. Here's Thomas. They left him open in transition. Ooh. Somebody left a door open.
You don't see 24 miss that badly very often. And As this game goes on, Tom, the reason why he has a bum ankle, he jumps so high into his jump shot. And therefore, sometimes when you're a high jumper like he is, those defensive feet can get underneath you at the last second. That's how he rolled that thing at Ole Miss. But, man, he's got some pop now. He really rises and fires on that jump shot.
Those are stylish kicks, too.
Yeah.
Corner three. Wilkinson gets it. Mwani Wilkinson can impact the game when he doesn't score. When he does, it feels like icing on the cake.
I wish he was my neighbor, Wilkinson, because you know what his hobby is?
What's that?
Fix stuff. Fix stuff. His hobby is to fix stuff. Man, could I use him?
You got a light bulb out? The director told you that before we went on air.
Tom, issues.
Here's Days. Issues from LSU's leading scorers trying to find it here early on, even with a 4-point lead.
Well, if I'm Arkansas, maybe even send 4 guys to the offensive glass right now. Make LSU show that they can defensive rebound that ball.
Trenton Wofford, 6'9" sophomore, is a point forward. Here's Smart to Thomas, and he picks up a bump from Jalen Tate. That's his first. We're going to break down the game of one of the top scoring freshmen in all of college basketball right after this.
Takes 8 3-point shots a game. If you crowd him, he's got the jab step, which sets him up for the drives to the rim, where he takes 7 2-point shots a game. And he gets there with a very high foul rate, getting the free throw line about 8 times a game. 24, Cameron Thomas, off of the pin down. The scoring spot on the floor, now the game is in his hands.
Let's take a look at how that looks in action.
Yeah, well, there's the pin down. This time he goes underneath the pin down. But again, that's his scoring spot. You asked me earlier, what's his favorite spot? It's off that pin down, off the top part of the screen right now, that really gets him into his groove.
I talked to him after the A&M game, first conference game of the season, late December. I said, where is your favorite place on the floor to score? And like any great scorer, he said, simply anywhere.
On the floor. Basically on the floor.
Well, I got to be in the game. Yeah, there's Javonte Smart.
Javonte Smart last year, Tom, finished at about 43% on shots at the rim. This year, he's above 60%. A much improved layup maker is number 1 in white.
LSU, one of the best 2-point shooting teams in the country. Jackson for 3, and a big reason for that, talking with Will Wade today, is when you've got a shooter like Cameron Thomas, he really does a fantastic job of spreading the floor and opening up those driving lanes. Thomas waiting on the left wing. This is Watford. Great assist man for a big. Over Vanover, and Vanover gets whistled for the foul on Mwani Wilkinson.
Yeah, Vanover left Wilkinson, kind of a mismatch there, but Vanover left to try to influence the shot of Days, and Wilkinson just an athlete, man. One of those kind of guys that you do not have to run a play for, and they don't, by the way, but he can just go get it.
So Mwani Wilkinson at the free throw line, making his 8th consecutive start tonight. Freshman from Las Vegas out of Bishop Gorman. Will was raving about him when we talked to the LSU head coach today, and mentioned that he was plus 20. In the plus minus, he was plus 20 in a game that they won by 6 without attempting a single field goal.
Well, he affects the game. We talk a lot about guys that can affect the game without taking a shot, and this is the example of it. I mean, he sticks in that bottom corner and absolutely just rim runs. Anytime there's a shot, he'll get a couple of lobs a game, but a tremendous athlete, and was on a great high school team last year. Bishop Gorman finished 4th in the nation. I think it was their 9th straight state title out there, and ties as good as we've got in the country right now for state championships.
Thomas took it himself. Only one that touched it couldn't finish. It's a 9-0 LSU run. They've forced Arkansas into 5 straight misses, and they put together an interesting first half as Thomas tracks it down. Bump and no whistle. Here's Days. Buries it. Darius Days, a junior from Raleigh, Florida.
Days shooting 44% in conference play from that three-point line, and he is their best screener. And the best screener deserves to get 3 or 4 wide-open looks a ball game.
Silves gives it up. Extra pass to Jackson. Great defense by LSU. They don't exactly have a sterling defensive reputation, but it's looked good tonight.
Yeah, really corralling the ball defensively as LSU, sending 2 or 3 guys at the drive. I talked about Days. Bam, just a physical screen, pops out of it, gets his feet set, lets it rip with confidence. And what do I mean by he's their best screener? Well, first of all, he's a wide body, but he sets wide screens. He's not afraid of the contact. He sends the offensive player, Tom, in the direction that the ball should be going, and he's quick in and out of it.
Here's Javonte Smart getting in on it. He'll get a chance for a 3-point play.
Now, Javonte Smart, only 14 free throw attempts in the first 9 games. However, in conference play, he's starting to drive that thing with more authority, a little more grit, a little more anger. Well done, Javonte Smart, and terrific start. LSU Bengal Tigers.
Want to make a name for yourself in gaming? Then make a name for yourself. Even if your office and bank balance are far from glamorous. That means expensing nothing but pizza.
Your expenses look good, and your books are set for the month.
Going up against this guy and pitching your idea 100 times.
No. Nope.
No.
I like it.
He likes it, and you definitely love that.
Intuit QuickBooks helps small businesses be more successful with payments, payroll, banking, and live bookkeeping.
LSU currently on a 16-0 run. Hogs have made just 1 of their last 8. Mawani Wilkinson, who averages 4 points a game, already has 5. Javonte Smart at the line, chance for a 3-point play. Missed that opportunity. Tom Hart with Jimmy Dykes. 2 highest scoring teams in the SEC going head-to-head in this one. And so far, all LSU. What's going wrong for Arkansas's offense?
Well, I don't think they're making LSU work hard enough defensively. And you mentioned LSU is not their strength. So can you get to the 4th or 5th pass in this game if you're Arkansas and see if LSU wants to defend the entire shot clock? I know Arkansas wants to run, and they're not afraid to run, and that's exactly what they need to be doing. But in the half-court game, Tom, you have to test LSU defensively sometimes to that 3rd, 4th, 5th pass and see if they really want to lock in.
So here's Trenton Watford, just a sophomore. He's a Birmingham native at a Mountain Brook High School. Was out there almost every minute last year, Jimmy. And you look at this team and you think, man, Watford's only a sophomore? Feels like this guy's been here 4 years. 16 points a game in conference play and 3 assists per game. He had a 9-assist game in the non-conference against SIU Edwardsville.
Yeah, he's the 2nd best playmaker behind Javonte Smart in that starting lineup. And you look at LSU's offense, Will Wade is so good. He is so good at manipulating the matchup and getting who he wants in an ISO. And it all starts with Watford's ability to beat his guys at point forward. And Will Wade is an outstanding offensive coach. Like, his mind thinks different than a lot of guys.
In what way exactly?
Well, just what I said. Like, he has quick vision and quick decision making, seeing the game, seeing where the matchup is, and attacking that matchup. And he doesn't have to go to a timeout and assistant coach say, hey, coach, I think, no, I got it. Like, yeah. I don't have to get to a timeout. I'm seeing it now, and I'm adjusting now within the game.
Arkansas shooting just 23%, 3 for 13 in the opening moments. Desi Sills gets 1 to go. An Arkansas team playing without Indiana transfer Justin Smith. Still out with an injury, even though he practiced for a little bit a couple of days ago, the last couple of days. That one rolls home for Andre Hyatt. And without Justin Smith, they're missing a key part on both ends of the floor.
Yeah, that's a huge loss, especially in this game. He's the type of defender that you can say, you know what, you've got Watford tonight, and let's just go one-on-one and see who's going to win that battle. Yeah, probably the best guy that Arkansas would have, Tom, to put on 2 in white.
Jimmy, why isn't Arkansas getting to the rim? LSU defensively really doesn't have a true rim protector. Might be one of their weaknesses.
Well, the reason why they're not getting there right now is the same reason that Kentucky couldn't get there last night against Alabama. LSU is winning the guard the ball moment.
Well, how you feeling, Tuscaloosa? If a national championship on the football field wasn't enough, your basketball team's leading the conference. 5-0 in SEC play, Jimmy, after a convincing win at Rupp Arena last night.
Man, so many things in that ball game. I thought Alabama was outstanding at their spacing offensively, Tom. I mean, Kentucky couldn't stay in front of the ball, but the reason why is Alabama, just look up every possession. They are a perfect 15 feet apart with a two-man game in the middle of the floor. The gaps are wide. Tom, it's remarkable the difference of staying 12 feet from one another or 15 or 16 feet from one another. And Alabama was so true in that area last night. Man, were they good.
A 20-point win, 85-65. That foul on Moses Moody in the open floor, his first. Here's Watford for three. What a run by LSU. They're absolutely pouring it on. It's now a 24-2 run.
The two teams in the SEC that are the most difficult to defend, Alabama and LSU. LSU plays with a great freedom. They got four dudes, man, offensively can just go get it. And they play with that same kind of a cocky swagger that Alabama plays with.
Georgetown transfer Josh LeBlanc gets in on the fun. It started with Arkansas' 6th turnover of the game. It finishes with the LeBlanc slam. LSU's up 3 touchdowns. It's like they got Joe Burrow out there.
LSU's doing everything. And first of all, they're guarding the ball on the other end. So we're really frustrating Arkansas. A team that only has 1 assist right now. Watford is a guy that just at 6'9", 240. It's a hard match, man, for everybody. Because he can see, he can make passes. He plays really low with the ball. Watford does as a driver, and he has a very smooth stroke. And this is an LSU team that when they're on, them and Alabama, the best 2 teams in this league.
Jimmy, Eric Musselman, who was an NBA coach now in his 2nd season at Arkansas, comes from NBA pedigree with his dad as well, got together with his staff, and part of the game plan was, can we run with LSU? And he said, absolutely we can. We want to play our style. I mentioned the NBA background because he's very much a matchup coach in terms of not just our strengths, but where can we attack the other team. Why is it not working for Arkansas tonight?
Well, it's an Arkansas team, Tom, that's based on, first of all, they want Arkansas 200 passes a game. And they have a lot of quick hitters. Those quick hitters have not gotten good looks tonight so far. And so I think tonight for Arkansas, you're going to have to get to the 3rd or 4th pass. You're going to have to get the ball inside on the road. You're going to have to drive it and get to the free throw line now because of the deficit that you dug. And again, you've got to get on the offensive glass. LSU has not kept anyone off the offensive glass all year. Tonight can't be the first night that they do it.
Jalen Williams knocks down both free throws. That was the first on Watford a moment ago. Here's Arkansas now with a rare run out, and they don't get a second shot out of it.
Devo Davis just got sped up. That's
Here's
what LSU
Thomas
can do
for
to
3.
you.
Offensive board and a putback by Andre Hyatt. Everybody for LSU has contributed in this one early.
You cannot let Thomas run to his scoring spot. He lives in that high right side slot area. And now the game is in his hands, like I drew up on the board.
Another defensive board, I should say, for LSU. It was Hyatt there. Thomas steps through. Got it. Cameron Thomas only has 4, and LSU is up 23.
But he was the all-time leading scorer at Oak Hill Academy. Okay, so think about this. At Oak Hill Academy, Keldon Johnson, pretty good player. Ty Lawson, Rajon Rondo, Josh Smith, Carmelo Anthony, Jerry Stackhouse. I mean, that's just 5 of probably 30 dudes that are big-time basketball names. And he's the all-time leading scorer out of that program.
Over 2,200 points in 2 years at Oak Hill. Consensus 5-star with 32-point-a-game score. Here's Vance Jackson, left it short. And it falls off the rim. Arkansas can't buy a bucket. They only have 4 makes.
Tom, how hard it is to get the ball right at the rim. It's extremely difficult. And if you get it there, you got to make it.
Contested shot in the lane. Devontae Davis turned around, and LSU makes a rare mistake as Thomas steps on the sideline. Well, speaking of a team that can score, #1 Gonzaga will be on the air tomorrow night as they play host to Pepperdine. The top-ranked Zags lead the nation in scoring. They average a ridiculous 96 points a game. Our coverage tips at 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific on ESPN and on the app. Shulman and Billis on the call right after #10 Oregon and 11th-ranked Arizona on the women's side.
John Gasway had an article today on ESPN.com I thought was really well written, talking about the 25 best players or most impactful players in the college game right now. Four of the top 25 are from Gonzaga. When you consider Ayayi coming off his first school's triple-double, and then Kispert and Timmy and Suggs, I mean, that's an offensive firepower that I have not seen in a long, long time. Talking about Gonzaga, and they are must-watch TV regardless of what the score is because of how they play.
Eric Musselman trying to find some. No, 21% from the floor, 1 of 6 from deep. He said one of the toughest things in bringing all these newcomers, a school record 11 new scholarship players, bringing them all into the program is early in the season. He said they didn't know me, and I'm wearing a mask. They couldn't tell when I was smiling. Good thing he's wearing a mask tonight. There is no smiling from the Arkansas bench given this start. Foul will go against Vance Jackson. His first. What a turnaround for this roster. Excuse me, that foul was on Sills. 5 freshmen. They brought in new juniors, new seniors, grad transfers. Isaiah Joe put his name in the draft, came back, and then left again. They never had a chance to fill that scholarship spot. And they also lost one of the best scorers in the SEC in Mason Jones.
Well, and there's so much terminology that goes with Eric's philosophy, and it's a lot to grasp, a lot to digest. Not only do you understand, but now can you go do it without thinking? And he's done a remarkable job. You go back to his days at Nevada. They won 86 games his last 3 years there, and they were in the top 35 offensively all the time. So he knows what he's doing. But right now, Arkansas just searching for any way to get a basket.
J.D. Notae gets it in there. What a departure from their last performance. He had 24 assists on 36 field goals against Georgia. And the Razorbacks turn it over.
Time Sean's second run for Sharif Cooper at Auburn.
Yeah, he's doing well, distributing the ball, 5 assists. But right now, Georgia on a run. Auburn was up 11 in this game early.
Tom and Jimmy.
Night, Kevin. Thanks. Tough run for the Dogs. Got off to a 7-0 start to the season. Their best since the Final Four season of 1983, but without an SEC win so far. Here's Cam Thomas.
Tom, I agree with Coach about Florida State. I have them this coming Monday at Louisville. And it's almost like Leonard Hamilton just has a laboratory somewhere that he just churns out guys every year that all just physical, tough, defensive-minded, take care of the ball, play with an anger about him. I love watching that Florida State team play. They are the real deal.
Here's Watford with step-around Vanover. It's a shame for a lot of different teams that we didn't get a chance to have an NCAA tournament last year, whether you're San Diego State or Dayton or Gonzaga. But Florida State right in that mix of missed opportunities with no tournament.
Yeah, absolutely they were. They were playing as well as anybody. I'm not sure who's coming out after that last drive by Watford, but someone's coming out.
Thomas with the 3. And we'll find out now as Eric Musselman trying to stop the bleeding with the Tigers up 42-13.
Did Arkansas know the game started at 7 Eastern time? I mean, watch Watford right here, just right down the pipe, and Connor Vanover at 7'3", no resistance. He might be the guy that's coming out. At least you're down 42-13. Lay the wood to somebody and try to change the rules of the game, because right now the rules of the game for LSU is we're getting anything we want from everybody. Everyone for LSU, Thomas, played in this game has scored a point. It is 42-13 with 6:52 to go.
It's an LSU team that didn't score on their first 2 possessions. They've now scored on 19 of their last 25 possessions.
And Eric Musselman, and rightfully so, he felt so good coming into this ball game in terms of how they played, how they put away Georgia, and how efficient they were offensively. But I mean, there's nothing. There's no Moses Moody. There's no Note. There's no nothing. Nothing.
Jump ball tied up by Mwani Wilkinson. It'll be LSU's ball. Jimmy, they're up 42-13. And Mwani Wilkinson's tying guys up at midcourt.
Will Wade, I don't know about you. I just kind of sensed today when we talked to him about 4 hours ago that he felt good about this game. He was confident in Thomas being able to play. He knows what he's got offensively. I think he felt like the last game at Ole Miss was their best overall collective defensive fight that they've had all year.
They never trailed in that game against Ole Miss and forced the Rebels into 1 of 10 from deep in the first half. Couple of ball fakes for Jackson. Arkansas 1 of 9 from 3. Here's Thomas. And a follow punches through for Wilkinson.
I don't know, that's embarrassment for Arkansas, and I hate to call it like that, but when you have 4 red jerseys standing and the 1 white jersey comes in and cleans it up, boy, Coach Muss is going to be. He will not be easy to deal with in that locker room, nor should he. Now, Will Wade's guys are putting it on him, but Arkansas they haven't given into the fight. They have not even been involved. Driving out of control right now, and just totally, LSU has taken everything away from the Hogs so far in this game.
As Jalen Tate with the offensive foul, turnover number 10 in this first half for Arkansas.
Elbow touch for Watford, and he didn't go to work.
He goes off of the shin of Darius Days, trying to plead his case. What is most surprising about this first half to you?
Besides the score?
in relation to the score, yes.
Just Arkansas's inability to do anything. I mean, their offense isn't clean. They're not getting assists. They're not moving the ball. They can't drive it by anybody right now. They have no post-up game, and it has really affected what has been a pretty good defensive team on the other end. So they're not, with all the problems going on, now they've become offensive sensitive in terms of not making shots, so the effort's lacking on the other end as well.
J.D. Note gets a bucket. That's just his second, and that makes him the leading scorer for Arkansas with a total of 4. Here's Javonte Smart. Blocked out of bounds by Devontae Davis.
I'm a big fan of Devo Davis, number 4 for Arkansas. I think he's a young Patrick Beverly type defender. I mean, this kid is rugged. He had a play against Tennessee that almost saved the game for Arkansas, just an all-out effort play. But you watch Devontae Davis going forward, he's going to be that type of a guard, I think, for Arkansas. He's got a huge Valentine, big motor, tough, fights. Love him.
Here's another bucket, back-to-back possessions ending in scores. That's an Arkansas team that went on the road to Rocky Top and only lost by 5 in what was, before tonight, the only game where they had turnover problems.
Yeah, they did everything well in that game. They deserved to win the game.
Thomas, step back.
I know it didn't go, but that's an NBA skill right there.
Here's Watford. Gave it up. And it's going to end an offensive foul on Trenton Watford. Darius Days, meanwhile, down at midcourt for LSU. Watch the entirety of this play, and Darius Days getting some attention from Sean Eddy. He gets kicked right in the face. J.D. Note just trying to clear him. Days is a tough dude. Averaging almost 14 points a game. It's a 44-17 lead for LSU. We'll step away for a moment. When we return, LSU rolling.
The E-Trade halftime report is on the way. Coming up, much more on the blockbuster NBA trade that's sending James Harden to the Nets. Plus, we'll get you set for Texas Tech and Texas coming up next. Sean, LSU's getting anything they want.
They're getting anything and everything they want for this Arkansas team, Coach. Very different look than what we saw in the non-conference without Justin Smith. Look, probably doesn't make a difference with as well as LSU's playing, but it's a huge absence.
They're missing a front court player. But when I think about this, Jimmy, I don't see anyone in first class. I don't see anyone in business class. I see a bunch of teams that are in coach from the SEC. What's your take?
Well, Seth, I think you got a good point. I think Arkansas, SEC is going to get 6 or probably 6 seats on that jet. The one team that could get there is Tennessee, and I know they're not the offensive firepower of Alabama and LSU in this league, but just overall, man, that's a team that there's not very many weaknesses in Tennessee, and if they can, finish this thing with only 2 losses, they could creep up there, Seth. They're probably going to end up Tennessee in the first row of business class, which that's not a bad seat now. Not on my jet. That's still a pretty good seat.
Thomas misses the 3, and LeBlanc's follow doesn't go.
You know who's in first class? No surprise.
A couple of
Gonzaga,
them, yeah.
Michigan, Iowa, and Baylor.
This one kind of smells like the Michigan-Wisconsin game from last night.
Oh my gosh, good call by you. And Tom, I would let them on the plane in that order. I think that you get your first choice of seats, Gonzaga. You're the best team. Michigan, after last night, you come on next. Where do you want to sit? And then I'm going to go with Iowa because the offense, and we forget that Luka Garza is making almost 50% of his threes as well. And then I'm going to go with Baylor. And the reason why I say that, those 4 teams, when I've seen them at their best, I think that's the order that we're in right now. I really do.
Jimmy, I can tell you haven't been traveling much lately because these days they board from the rear, but your point is still well taken.
There you go. That's
put back for Jalen Williams. Joey Brackets has been busy, and here's what bracketology looks like. Here's their very early, just 5 games into the SEC season. There's your number 1s. You got Villanova in there. It's got Iowa a 2 seed. Texas has a chance. Well, what impressive road wins for the Longhorns at West Virginia, at the buzzer this weekend, and at Allen Fieldhouse.
Yeah, that Texas.
And they've got a chance with Texas Tech tonight. Sorry, Jimmy.
Yeah, they do. How many times has Texas Tech in recent years gone into a game and they are not the best defensive team according to Ken Pom in the matchup? Because tonight Texas is 1 slot above them in that defensive efficiency ranking.
Both top 5 Ken Pom defenses. They also both have coaches who have changed their look this season, right? Shaka grew out the hair, and Beard with the beard.
I love that Texas team. I think they have finally taken on the personality of Shaka in terms of just the anger and the discipline and the fight that they bring in the half court. You got it down to 3 touchdowns right now if you're Arkansas. And at least you've kind of looking like you're not going to give up 60 in the first half at this point. Defend, keep cutting it to it a little bit right now. Good job by Devo on the ball.
Here's Hyatt. They might need to call up Barry Odom, see if he can put a defense together for the second half. Transition 3 goes. J.D. Note, who's suddenly got 11. He's the guy that has kept his head in this game despite the struggles. All right, we went big picture a moment ago, but Jimmy, tell me about the guys that you don't want to see.
I'm just telling you right now, I don't want any part of these 4 teams. Gonzaga, the best offensive team in the country. They got 3 potential All-Americans. And I don't want any part of Gonzaga. I do not want any part of Iowa, whether inside, outside firepower. I talked about Garza, what he's doing from the 3-point line. The most dynamic backcourt on both ends in terms of can your guards score and can your guards lock people down is Baylor. And this team right now, Michigan, they are playing as well as anyone. And both top 20 offensive and defensive numbers for Michigan. And That is a real team. You look at Gonzaga leading the country in points, and their points per 100 possessions. They are a thing of beauty. And Jalen Suggs, I think Sean had the game. He made a pass against BYU where he got the defensive rebound and flipped it about 75 feet, bam, right on target. And he made one against San Francisco with about a 70-foot bounce pass. If you're an NBA scout, that's all you need to know, man. Take that guy number one and run with it.
They're fourth in the country in length of possession. They're top 10 in tempo. They got a lot of mouths to feed. With all those possessions, everybody gets a chance. Watford fouled on his way in.
What did Will Wade do? Okay, he felt a little bit of Arkansas momentum creeping in, so he calls timeout and he says, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go to number 2 Watford on the elbow. That's where the game now is in his hands. He's a tremendous elbow driver, especially on the left elbow going to his right, or if you put a shooter in the corner, now it's a one-on-one game. But Tom, he hit a big shot last year against Arkansas to win in Baton Rouge off of that elbow isolation, manipulate the matchup offense that Will Wade is so good at.
Watford's not got another one coming. Here's my only question about Gonzaga, just to turn it back a half second. You ever been to lunch with Mark Few and taking selfies? Is that a thing? Is that a Spokane thing? Is that what they do up there?
Oh, man. So we're up there last year.
Don't doubt my scouting reports, Jimmy Jones.
We're up there last year having a beautiful lunch with our boss, David Seisler, Fran Fraschilla, and Mark Few. And in walks John Stockton. Like the John Stockton walks in. And like I grew up, just like everyone wanted to be John Stockton. Same size, no, I was not even close, but in walks John Stockton. So he comes over and visits and very cordial to us and goes over and sits down with his son to eat. And I look at Few and I said, hey, I've got to get my picture made with Stockton before we leave. And Mark Few stares me straight in the eyes and says, quote, Jimmy, don't be that guy. And I said, what do you mean don't be that guy? Like, he's not about people taking pictures. He's low maintenance. Just don't be that guy. Just, hey, act like you belong in the same room. Shake his hand. Tell him goodbye. Nice to meet you, and let's go. And that's my greatest memory of being in the same room with John Stockton.
I mean, my only question about John Stockton at lunch is when he turned to pass the rolls, did Karl Malone show up and receive him? Is anybody else he passes to?
Oh, man. He could be right now on my wall behind me as we speak had Mark Few not subbed me out of the game.
He tapped you on the shoulder. Hey, Jimmy, we're going to Fran. If you do that, we're going to Fran. 21-point lead as we approach halftime at the PMAC in its 50th year, where LSU has an all-time winning percentage better than 75%. And on their way to impacting that number. Here's Moody, the talented freshman, strokes one home. He's been
Arkansas.
quiet.
Yeah, look at this. They've cut it to 18. Moody's been very quiet. And at least Musselman has something at halftime to say, okay, I don't know what team was with me the first 12 minutes. The last 8 minutes, we're back to kind of being who we are.
It's a second on Moody. And Cam Thomas at the free throw line.
Cam Thomas has a 6-day-a-week, 90-minute workout routine he does every day outside of practice. Guy's got a plan, man.
Speaking of a plan to watch number 1 Gonzaga playing host to Pepperdine tomorrow night in Spokane. Top-ranked Zags, as we mentioned, lead the nation in scoring at 96 a game. Our coverage begins 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific on ESPN and the app. With Dan Shulman and Jay Billis on the call. That's right after number 10 Oregon and number 11 Arizona on the women's side. Another free throw coming for Thomas, the nation's leading freshman scorer. He's 5 points ahead of Oklahoma State's Cade Cunningham, who's in second place among freshmen.
This kid, he draws fouls no matter what the defense throws at him. Think about this. Georgia tried to face guard 24 for 40 minutes. You know what he did? Went to the free throw line 16 times. I mean, he's at a whole nother level in terms of how he sees the game for a young kid. I love his demeanor. You can't tell by looking at his face, does he have 30 or does he have 3? That dude just balls.
7 fouls per 40 minutes. 6 left in the first half clock. A drive and a kick. Sills got to hurry. It's now at 1. Straight ahead 3. And that's how the half will end fittingly as Vance Jackson leaves it short. 51-31. It's LSU by 20 on the break. Plenty to talk about at the half, including Seth's new shoe deal. PN, the LSU Invitational tonight. The Tigers with a 20-point lead at the half against Arkansas. Tom Hart, Jimmy Dykes. Jimmy, great background. I was just thinking, you know, it would look really good back there. It would be a selfie with John Stockton. But that hasn't happened. So on we move. What'd you like about LSU in the first half?
Well, I said in the first half that the two best offenses in this league is LSU and Alabama. I think Tennessee is probably the best overall team, built to go the deepest in March from what I've seen. You look at LSU tonight, Tommy, everyone has came in and produced. Look at the numbers of guys with points and rebounds, the guys that have made a shot from the field. And got multiple players with 5 points or more, 5 players with a 3. Like, it's been everybody. The ball's been hot. Not one selfish possession that I've seen out of LSU. And they've defensively, they have really covered up Arkansas. That's a big, long team, especially up top right now, that LSU can throw at you. And if you can't drive by that length, they can make life tough on
LSU transitions into a 1-3-1 to start the second half. Multiple defensive look team. And a follow tip. 2 of them miss inside for Arkansas. And finally, Moses Moody will go to the free throw line. We have not had a chance to talk much about Moses Moody, who's one of only 3 in the conference, averaging 16 points and 6 boards. He's the only freshman to do so, and he came in with a sterling resume.
Well, you know, right now Moses is saying, let my people go to work, because you're down 20. And this is a kid that I think it's Arkansas's 7th offensive rebound in this game. And they've missed a ton of shots. They've had a lot of opportunities, but look at the year that he's having, and I'm not sure he's a guaranteed one-and-done guy. I don't think he's wired like that. If he's ready and the feedback's there, then certainly. But this is a guy that wakes up a plan, very much like Cameron Thomas does every day. Just a grinder, man. Just a complete grinder.
We got a block that turns into a foul on the other side. That foul, by the way, on LSU was on Javonte Smart. Speaking of Moses Moody and his plan, he had a great quote on the Hog Pod with Bo Mattingly, taking the Natural State by storm, by the way, where he said, I realize that what I do now is going to impact the rest of my life. It's going to impact who I am at 35 and going forward. So that's his work ethic. There are no days off.
Tommy's been a winner all of his life. I watched him in high school here in Arkansas at Little Rock Parkview and North Little Rock High School. Won a state championship, made the decision to leave the state and force himself to rise up to another level of competition. And Arkansas has any chance of cutting into this game. 5 in red's got to go to work.
Here he is again. He played at North Little Rock with Isaiah Joe. How did anybody stop that offense? Days inside, picks up and throws it back in. He's got his first bucket of the second half, leads to 22.
Ooh, something happened.
Yeah. That might have been a clipboard that just met its demise after the Arkansas turnover.
In the ball game for Arkansas number 3, Sills coming out from the floor.
Days is such a menace on the offensive glass. Just big, wide body. Talked about his effectiveness as a screener because he's wide and plays wider. He does the same thing around the rim when the ball's on the glass. He carves out space probably about as well as anybody in this league.
Here he is from deep. Rebounded into Desi Sills' hands. That big slap we heard that I surmise could have been a clipboard. It was the ball hitting the possession light on the scorer's table.
All right.
It's a little disconcerting when you're not there, is it not?
Well, Well, it is. What's disconcerting on that Arkansas possession, Tom, I was watching the shot clock. It got down to, I think it got down to 12, and the ball never got below the free throw line extended. I mean, that ball has got to get inside the teeth of the defense.
Not a problem for LSU. And Moses Moody commits his third. Jalen Williams has 3 personal fouls. By the way, our friend who runs Hog Stats, a Twitter account, notes that Arkansas is 0-24 all time in conference play when they're trailing by 20 or more at the half. 0-24. So here's Cam Thomas.
Tom, this kid, he's so efficient with his movement. Like, he doesn't waste steps as an offensive player. Just on that last back cut, he stood, he was patient. He didn't cut too early. And as soon as his defender got about another step higher, bam, man, just gone to the rim. And just has a bulldog mentality about it. He drags guys to the rim off the bounce. And those guys are hard to find, and they end up ultimately making a lot of money.
First in the SEC over the last 25 seasons to score 15 or more in the first 7 of his career. And they've had some scores in LSU's history. That foul will go against Milwaukee Wilkinson. It's his second. And Desi Sills at the free throw line.
You're talking about Cameron Thomas. Anthony Edwards, the #1 pick out of this league last year. Cameron Thomas is an inch shorter and probably 10 pounds lighter. He shoots the ball better. He rises up, and Anthony could shoot it now, but this kid's consistency in terms of how he shoots it, how high he pops into his shot. Not the playmaker, not the passer, I don't think, that Anthony Edwards was, but there are some similarities in terms of guys that just know how to get it off. And 24 can get it off anytime he wants.
Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf, 88-89 season, put up 30 a game on 49% shooting. That's a heck of a comparison. Of course, Pistol Pete wasn't on the varsity team when he was a freshman. That wasn't legal, so everybody would come to the freshman games and then leave. Days into double figures. Days nearing a double-double. Here's Sills from the corner. Days, offensive foul. If you're Eric Musselman, how hard is it to get a run out of your team? And I'm not saying, you know, get a 25-point game and come back and a 25-point game and run and come back and take the lead, but just to put together an 8-0, a 10-2, scoring on consecutive trips down the floor on a night like tonight, Jimmy. How hard is that?
Yeah, it's really tough. It's interesting. I was watching at halftime, Tom. Arkansas came out of the locker room with about 7.5 minutes to go on the clock, and that's a 20-minute running clock at halftime. Normally, you take 3 or 4 minutes to talk with your staff before you go in to talk to your team. And in that scenario, it looked to me like tonight Eric went in there and had a very brief, probably very straight to the point, very loud talk with his team. And by the way, it's a very small visiting locker room,
right,
there at LSU. But I thought it was interesting that it was a very short message from Coach Muss to his guys at halftime, because they were out of that tunnel with about 7.5 to go, and that is really early.
Watford with the travel turns it over for LSU. The Razorbacks did have a 12-0 run early in the first half. Lost amongst the rubble. Pardon me, that was at the end of the half with a 20-point deficit at the break.
You know, Note is the one guy, Tom, with that ball right now. He can get a little crazy on you at times, but he's got 14 points in this game because of his ability to knock down shots and go by people. And you just got to make wide open shots, man. That's
Here's Watford. Days on the glass.
He's just wearing people out, isn't he? Days.
Yeah.
He got 8 or 9 rebounds now in the game. Great hands, doesn't he? Great hands. And Days is unique, Tom, because he can get up and hammer it and make plays above the rim as a rebounder, but he can also beat you as a below the rim rebounder. Kind of a dual threat in terms of how you get rebounds, and he can do them both.
He's got a great enthusiasm for the game.
Yes.
I'm a fan of his post-bucket celebrations. Watford with the lean in. First bucket of this half.
That's just that ISO stuff for Watford, man. That the elbow area and extended up. You just bring the pipes up for Watford from the elbow up, and he catches the ball in that pipe. The game is in his hands, and there's your guy, Darius Days, just wearing people out around the rim. There's the miss. Big, strong hands, carves out space, beats you below the rim. Well done, Foreign White.
Saw correction to be made. We were talking about Moses Moody earlier in the game. That 7A state championship that he won as a sophomore came against Isaiah Joe's team. That's what happens when my font gets too small on my note cards here, Jimmy. I got to stick with like 9 and higher instead of the 6 to work in all the Moses Moody notes.
Yeah, Isaiah Joe was a Grizzly, man. At Fort Smith Northside.
Let's go Grizzlies.
Powerhouse program year after year. North Little Rock, Fort Smith Northside, Fayetteville, always in that conversation.
Loose ball ends up with Arkansas, and Jalen Tate with the kick ahead. Here's Sills.
Charge.
Whoa, no, it went the other way.
Defender's outside the restricted arc. If anything, he's falling before the contact came, and I think that's probably what the call was.
But it gives me an opportunity, Jimmy, with now Jalen Cook in the game. Dickie V was bragging about his friendship with Baton Rouge's Jordy Collada during the game the other night. And I thought to myself, wait a second, Jordy's my guy. And Dickie V's going on about Jordy feeding him nuggets. So Jordy gives me this one. Did you know Jalen Cook was a top 150 football recruit? Ole Miss, Tennessee, and LSU all offered him scholarship as both a defensive back and a slot receiver. Not bad.
Talking about the kid with the ball right now. I mean, the Louisiana Gatorade Player of the Year basketball too, huh? Boy, and he looks like a football player.
And I got to tell you, if Jordy keeps sharing these nuggets with Dick instead of us, then I'm going to take him off scholarship. Vance Jackson commits a foul. It's his second, and the 15th foul on Arkansas. Will Wade's got some depth, huh? Bring a guy like Jalen Cook out of Walker High School off the bench.
Got him. There you go.
Slowly but surely, Arkansas getting some things done. Will Wade trying to keep his team motivated with a 63-39 lead. Well, the standings in the SEC look different for a lot of reasons. First of all, South Carolina is 1-0. They've only played one game. They'll be back in action this weekend. And Alabama, Jimmy, is at the top of the league at 5-0 after a 20-point win at Kentucky last night.
Everybody's chasing Alabama, and the news about Jordan Bruner going to be out for a while with a meniscus tear is not what you want to hear if you're an Alabama fan. The news is a little bit better about Herb Jones, possibly only going to be out for a couple of weeks. Looks like Note or Tate took a shot in the shoulder.
Yeah, it's Note. Days kind of on a reach and got a shot. He's really holding that shoulder. I thought it was a shot to the face originally. They're going to take another look at this one. Watch after the strip.
I don't know if did Days clip him as he's kind of coming through with the ball, and
that could be it. Yeah, he got jammed his shoulder with his arm on the way up before where it looks like the foul occurred.
Foreign White's a big boy to be jamming you too. You're talking about watching Alabama last night. Swagger is not a strong enough word for how I view that team. I think it's more of a collective, we're going to punk you type attitude. And I love it about them. Like, I love that about Alabama right now, how they go into Rupp Arena and just say, come on, let's ball. And they put it on them to the point that I think toward the end of the game last night, one of the Alabama players asked Coach Cal in a respectful way, what's the score, Coach? But that's who they are. And if they're healthy.
Jimmy, hold on.
Yeah.
You asked the Hall of Fame coach in his building, what's the score, Coach, in a respectful way?
I'm pretty sure it's in a respectful way, but I'm just saying I love how they have no fear.
Yeah.
It's just not just Petty or Herb Jones or Shackelford. Man, it's all of them. And they were on full throttle last night, not only as how they played the game, how they shot the ball, how they drove the ball, how they guarded. But again, swagger's not a big enough word. There's another level to whatever they're at in terms of how they think and how they feel. And, boy, they did it.
Starts with Nate Oates, their coach, in his second season from Buffalo, playing the tempo that he wants to play. Big three for Desi Sills.
We got a flop warning, didn't we, on Jalen Cook?
Yep.
Time watch 3 in white. Going to get called for the flop. Again, there's no contact there, and he's falling, trying to deceive the official. And those are the things we continue to try to get out of the game.
Here's Cam Thomas.
Man, is he under control, huh? Just a good example of how he drags guys with him on the bounce. No, he's a power driver is what he is, and you can't get into his body and knock him off of the path. If anything, he's going to knock you off of your path that you're trying to be on as a defender. Kid wasn't a McDonald's All-American, Tom, but plays a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, and just so smooth for a guy with that kind of a body to avoid charges. Boom, right there, just avoids 4, avoids 10, elevates. He's playing on an ankle tonight that's about 85%. And I haven't seen a kid in a long time explode into his jump shot as high as he explodes. Haven't seen a lot of it tonight, but man, does he have some lift.
Eric Musselman simply described him as an NBA scorer. And he brought up the fact that he's a high-volume free throw guy, and that's a simple metric as Watford gets it to go that NBA scouts look at to try and project what kind of scorer you can be at the next level. Shot clock at 10. Contested mid-range goes for Jalen Tate. That's his first bucket of the night.
LSU can confuse you a little bit defensively. They play a lot of point switch. Good grief. How can that happen? And the timeout, Eric is wanting to know the same thing. How can we score on one end and then within 3 seconds get dunked on the other end? And when you run that back in the film and you ask the question, the room goes silent because there is not a proper answer. Man, that's hard to stomach as a coach.
LSU has outscored Arkansas this half 18-13. Tomorrow, two of the top women's teams in the Pac-12 and the nation square off in the desert. Ari McDonald is one of the best players in the country. She leads number 11 Arizona against number 10 Oregon at the McHale Center. That's at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific on ESPN and the app. A 25-point LSU lead. Trenton Watford is a guy that is a great scorer, 6th in the league in scoring at 18 points a game. Here's Jimmy telling us how he gets it done.
LSU's Trendon Watford is hard to guard because he's an absolute load at 6'9", 230 pounds off of an elbow touch. You have to come up on him because he shoots the ball so well. So now this enables him to get to that strong right hand, get to the basket, and he also has 3 assists a ball game. If Will Wade puts a shooter in the left corner, now this becomes a one-on-one game as he drives to the left because you can't help off defensively from that far corner. Trendon Watford on the elbow touch, hard to guard.
Tommy's 6'9" and 240, but he plays low. Like, that's a terrific play call and usage of a guy that's your second best playmaker from that elbow touch. And if you take away the right, and what they do is put a shooter in that left corner, and now you're playing one-on-one against a guy going to his left, who's very good, by the way, going to his left. It just goes back to that manipulate the matchup thinking of Will Wade and how best to use my guy, and that is an outstanding way to use number 2 in White.
Eric Gaines committed the foul. Will Wade was wondering. Back to the 1-3-1. Follow tip from Moses Moody.
And to hold him. And you try to windshield wipe Watford up there and push him off and discourage that elbow touch. He can also put fouls on you. I'm talking about Watford can put fouls on Arkansas or whatever the opponent is, because he really plays low. He almost like posts up, Tom, at the elbow, like 15, 16 feet away. Hard to keep him from catching that basketball.
Describe windshield wipe to me.
Well, you're 3/4ing him. You're not getting all the way in front of him because you give up the lob play. But, man, you got to be active, and active with your hands, active with your feet. Look at 5 right now. Just making it very difficult. So now you've pushed him off a little bit if you're Moses Moody. And so that forces him to become a passer.
LSU turned it over. Gaines was on the line.
How can that happen?
Why does it happen every night? LSU extending to midcourt. Arkansas shooting just 35% in this game to LSU's 52% clip.
Time we're looking at the last time out, and Sharif Cooper, Auburn night in Georgia. Auburn putting it on him last time I looked, but that kid, what was he, have 8 or 9 assists already? He had 8 at the half. I know that. I know the number's gone further. But Sharif Cooper on Saturday against Kentucky is going to be a real problem for Kentucky. And Kentucky struggled last night guarding the ball. Good luck staying in front of Sharif Cooper, I can tell you that.
Auburn's got a 21-point lead on the road at Georgia. Moody again gets another. He's got 13. You and I were sitting in John Calipari's office before the season started, and he really thought that his guards like B.J. Boston and Terrence Clark, and Clark has been out with an injury, would be fits defensively against opposition point guards. Doesn't seem like they have that opportunity to do so. Cooper will be a true test. No test for LSU tonight. 71-48 midway through the second.
Office, and to him right now, that's cool. I think that's really cool. I love this. Eric Musselman, the playing card from his dad there tucked away in the corners, and a young Eric up there on the right, and man, great memories, and just grew up always around the game was Eric Musselman with his dad, and flying charters on the NBA when he was a teenager, and just ball is very important to him, and look
at that. Look what else is in his office.
That's also in Eric's office. I didn't know we were going to go there, but that's also in his office, and that's on the other side of the room where the not cool stuff is. But that's a great picture of young Eric as a coach, and the conversations that he had with his dad, man, those are, as we know, priceless.
Yep.
How about the conversation that Steve Nash is going to have with James Harden explaining this is our offense? I would love to listen to that conversation. Would you?
I don't know. I mean, I feel for Steve Nash. By the way, and we had laughs with Eric. We're talking about the challenge of coaching in the NBA, but with his dad Bill, the first father-son combo. Did you know that Bill played at Wittenberg College in Springfield, Ohio, and who his coach was there?
I had no idea.
He played for former Tennessee coach Ray Mears at Wittenberg.
Wow.
Well, that's SEC cool. Flavor back in the day for the Musselman family.
Yeah, that's cool. I was watching the timeout when we were at the break. The camera's on Will Wade. Man, when he was on his guys. And it doesn't take too much to figure out. He's on his guys about how are we going to finish this game. You want to be a serious contender in this league and hang in the hunt and stay on the heels of Alabama. We can't have a bad 10 minutes, which then kind of carries over to the next game. And he was very on point with the message. And I was reading his lips with a mask pulled down, but he's not going to let his guys get sloppy here. At least he shouldn't.
It was a fourth on Jalen Williams.
Thomas talking earlier, right? Go ahead, buddy.
Well, I was just going to point out, 9:24 left in this one. According to our friend at Hogstats, the largest SEC comeback on the road for Arkansas in their history was 15 at Georgia in 2010. This was 20 at the half and 22 now. Bench has outscored the Arkansas starters in this one. Days with the rebound. What were you going to say, Jimmy?
I was talking in the first half about the four teams, a really good rim run by Days. Man, is he an effort guy or what? You know, he could have very well just three-quarter speed down the floor and kind of float in the offense. And guy just runs right to the rim like he's supposed to, like it's a tie ball game. You love coaching guys like that. You don't have to kick start in the butt to get them going, and you never have to do that to Days. Not one time.
Moody at about his average, 15 and 5, as Watford loses it on his way in.
Watch Days, man. Kid's a load. Comes at you with a big body, 6'7", 245. Really good hands. Again, not huge in terms of plays above the rim. Just absolutely wears you out with big shoulders, big butt, big legs, big hands. Man, just wears on you.
J.D. Notae for the triple, his first bucket this half.
Yep. Up to 17 now. Arkansas with 8 assists in the ball game, and well below their number of where they want to be. And I think they'll go back and grade this film, Tom, and probably won't be real close to that 200 passes that they want. That the ball has not been hot. It hasn't been quick. It hasn't made LSU move nearly as much as Coach Muss wants.
Notae now with 19. He had a Florida 40-point game against Florida Memorial when he was at Jacksonville. He's a guy who can fill it up. Here's Javonte Smart now with the answer. 7:18 remaining. LSU's got 82 on the board. Thanks to 14 and 9 night for Days, a board away from a double-double. LSU got off to a slow start. They missed their first two, and then they caught fire, and they haven't slowed down yet.
Yeah, it's been the big four: Days and Thomas, Smart, Watford, all those guys between 14 and 21 points. And they've just jumped up and made shots. And I talked about it, and I'll say it again. The best two offenses in this league are Alabama and LSU. And you're seeing why I say that tonight. Will Wade's guys, they can punch you in the face from 4 different spots. They had their complementary players jump up and make shots as well. Arkansas's defense has not tagged them, hasn't frustrated them, have not been in their airspace tonight. That footage we just showed you, man, how many times is LSU just jumping up clean? And just no one in their airspace, not making them work.
Jimmy, this may feel like dominance on the Arkansas side, but I just saw a nugget on the Auburn-Georgia game. Auburn's winning 75-52. Auburn has blocked 13 Georgia shots tonight. That's the most this season in a Division I game. That is a shutdown.
Yeah, that's an interesting team. Auburn with a self-imposed postseason ban. So they're no threat there. But I'm telling you what, with Sharif Cooper on the floor, they are more than capable of keeping someone out of postseason play. They're going to win some games in this league against some teams that really can't afford to lose one. And Saturday could be one of them. I mean, Kentucky, they were so good against Florida. Watched the film. I talked to Cal the next day and said, man, I'm watching a real team here. They did so many good things on Saturday, and then last night in Rupp just took not 2 steps, but like 7 steps backwards.
Yeah.
And now you got to correct it before you go into the jungle on Saturday.
Here's Desi Sills at the free throw line. What is Eric Musselman looking to get more out of in regard to Sills?
Well, his confidence coming into this ball game was probably as low as it's been all year, and Eric talked about it. And Desi's a guy that at times he can make hard shots, but at other times he starts twisting and turning and jumping off the wrong foot and playing off of one and makes the shot harder than it needs to be. But I still am a believer in Sills, Tom, because I think he's got a heart. I think he's got toughness about him. He's just in a slump right now, but I want him on my team if I'm Arkansas going forward.
Forced shot by LSU. Here's Moody to push. Sills, and that won't help the confidence. Rejected by Josh LeBlanc. Here's a lob to Wilkinson and the finish.
Tom, that last basket is all on Sills. You've heard me say it before. It's one thing to draw a crowd. It's another thing to try to make a play in a crowd. And that's exactly what he tried to do and just got 8 up at the rim.
Arkansas struggles on the offensive end continue, but Note will get a chance to go to the line.
Watch Desi Sills. This is what I'm talking about. It's great to draw a crowd, but you don't have to always try to shoot in a crowd. There's the crowd right there. Bam, just erased by LeBlanc. And at the other end that's easy money, man. Right down the pipes. Kentucky between January 23rd and February the 9th. I want you to think about this. They play 6 straight games against teams that are projected to be in the NCAA tournament. LSU, at Bama, Texas, at Missouri, Tennessee, Arkansas. That's 6-game stretch right there between January 23rd and February the 9th. They can't afford to lose any games that I didn't mention right there, but out of those 6, I don't know. They 5-1, 6-0. You tell me, what do you think in terms of postseason?
No,
they're number 100 right now in the net.
And by the way, that's 44 points higher than they were about a week ago, thanks to the win of Florida. No, I think all of Kentucky's eggs are going to be in the Nashville basket. And for a couple different reasons. I think we'll see teams develop at different spots along the basketball calendar this year. Remember, the non-conference was limited. Nobody had exhibition games. Teams are, it sounds weird to say because we're 10 games into the year, but it is January 13th. They're still trying to figure out who they are, and coaches are trying to figure out exactly who they have. Some teams haven't even played, including Tennessee and Vandy, supposed to play last night. It's a game that's going to kick off a full day of men's basketball Saturday on the SEC Network, 1 Eastern, noon Central. Vandy with Scottie Pippen Jr. taking on number 10 Tennessee. Vols have won 8 of 9 against the Commodores. Vandy, from what I understand, by the way, took their test again today. It was some contact tracing and COVID issues that forced that Tennessee postponement from the other night, and then they're waiting to get test results back to tomorrow, Thursday, on the test that they took today. Anyway, my point was that teams are going to mature at different rates throughout the course of the season, and I still think Kentucky can get better, but I don't see it happening immediately. And that doesn't mean that they can't be a team that hits their stride in Nashville. But Jimmy, I don't know what Nashville's going to look like. I don't know what any conference tournaments are going to look like come mid-March.
Well, if it's a normal year, it looks like the Kentucky Invitational in terms of what the building looks like and feels like and sounds like. And that's not going to be the case, I don't anticipate, this year. And I agree with you. It looks like Kentucky's going to have to peak at that right time and win 3 or 4 games in a row.
Let me ask you this. We've got everybody, all the teams going to the Hoosier State for the NCAA tournament. They want to stagger some of the arrivals, so not everybody is showing up the day after Selection Sunday. If you were, let's use the SEC as an example, would you hold your full tournament, or would you give teams like Alabama, Tennessee, and others, LSU, that would be locks to be in the tournament, would you give them the option to say, you guys can opt out, stay home, get ready for the NCAA tournament?
I would do that. I would do that. I was on several radio shows this last couple of days, and it was brought up to me at one of them, and we started down that path, and I thought, you know what, if I'm a coach and I know that I'm in the NCAA tournament and I'm not really concerned about can I improve from a 6 seed to a 5 seed, there will have to be some conversation about what's best for us in terms of being ready for that NCAA tournament. And you know, if you're a mid-major and you know you're a 1-bid league, do those tournaments, Tom, go away and you still get your game on TV and say it's our number 1 versus number 2 out of the regular season that automatically is going to play? I think there's a lot of that conversation going on right now, as well there should be.
Well, there's
protecting your guys and being ready for that NCAA has to be priority 1, 2, and 3, I would think.
I couldn't agree more, and I think it's a win-win for your league. Now, what do you lose? You lose some television inventory coming out of that week of basketball, say, in Nashville. But you protect those teams that are the best. You can protect those teams that are the best, number 1. And number 2, those other teams that still elect to play now have more of a chance to make it to that championship game. And that's momentum for them to not only finish their season, but show up and be ready to play.
Sure. So you could get another team in that you might not have gotten. I tell you, if that happens, you know what else is going to spin off of that? Mark Few's phone is going to be blowing up.
Yes.
Because the coaches are going to want to know, how do you handle being off for that 10 or 12 days, because the WCC has always played earlier than those Power 5 conference tournaments. I'd call him. Look at the score all of a sudden. This is not how LSU, and we'll wait in that timeout about 6 minutes ago. That was not the message that he sent. And Arkansas has continued to fight, and that's one positive right now for Muss as they 4:20 to go.
Watford.
Did you see what he did? Yeah. He bounced the ball about 7 times. He got it tipped away, picked it up, and went right back to the same spot. All he was trying to do was get the defender on the high side and spin and go baseline, and he did.
Tate with the 3 for Arkansas. Here's a takeaway for the Hogs.
Or make a 3 right here and put a little bit of pressure now. You could. Shoot it.
Off the mark. Out of the hands of Tate, who just made one. 3.5 to play. 15-point game.
We're almost at a 12-point game right there. This is the only part of the film, if I'm Will Wade, that I show my guys tomorrow. Now, we went from up 24 to 1 shot away from being a 12-point game, and this thing's still not over. That's the concern for LSU going forward.
Tom.
All right, thanks, Kevin. Courtney Ramey had 19 in that one against West Virginia, and the Horns have won 35 straight at home when ranked inside the AP top 5, even though Texas Tech will go into that having won the last 2 in Austin. Davis off the mark, and a follow put back by Jalen Williams, and Watford still down.
And this is a made 3-point shot on Arkansas's last possession for being a 10-point game with 3:10 to go. Jalen Williams just comes sailing in. Watch Jalen Williams run from the corner. No box off. LSU just standing and watching, and Jalen Williams is making a straight line cut without the ball when the ball's on the glass. Comes down on top of Watford.
I wonder if he took a shot to the head with that left arm for Williams.
You're right. Yeah, right there. Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, and Tom, when you turn and you don't box off and you don't deliver the first blow, those kind of things are going to happen to you as a defensive rebounder every now and then. When that shot goes, man, you've got to go find someone and hit, find, and fetch. And at LSU, they still struggle in that area. Arkansas wasn't able to take advantage of it tonight, but LSU on the defensive glass is a concern, and Will knows it. It's a message and a strong message every day. Speaking of strong messages, Sharif Cooper, he's the first SEC player to rack up 20 assists in his first 2 career games over at least the last 15 years.
Pretty good.
That's the debut that kid's having.
Yeah. 17-point Auburn lead at Georgia with about 2 minutes to go in that one. Watford looked a little groggy. That was a clean elbow that caught him in the temple. And then a foul on the drive will go against Williams. That'll be his 5th. Excuse me, that wasn't Williams. Meanwhile, NBA coming your way, star-studded Friday doubleheader. Luka and the Mavs take on Giannis and the Bucks at 7:30 Eastern. Then it's Zion and the Pelicans squaring off against LeBron, AD, and the Lakers. Our coverage starts with NBA Countdown at 7 Eastern. A foul on Sills. That was his 2nd. Sorry, Jimmy.
That's okay. I've talked about LSU's lack of defensive rebounding so far this year. I want to try to clarify the point in terms of when the shot goes and you're LSU and physically you might kind of come down and kind of get in a defensive rebounding position.
Right.
It's not about where your body is, Tom. It's about where is your mind. And you can fool the film if you're standing in the right place. But if your mind is already like 3 big steps towards the other direction, thinking offense, that's how you don't clean up boards. And Days is not a guy that does that. When I watch LSU play, I think they have some guys that still will kind of rotate down and kind of look like they're coming down to defensive rebound, and the whole time their mind is thinking, I'm already 3 steps the other direction, someone else get the ball and throw it to me so I can go score. And they've got to clean those plays up.
That was the 2nd on Javonte Smart. And the first free throw is good from Jalen Tate. Is it guys that are just in the offensive mindset?
Yes, absolutely. Their mind, if you could kind of put a gauge on it during the course of a 40-minute game, is probably shaded 70% thinking offense, 30% defense. And you can't fool the coach. The coach watching the film can see. Yeah. Like he can kind of see body language. I can already see you're leaning with your mind wanting to go to offense. We need you to scrape down and get in the fight if we're going to continue to be right on the heels of Alabama in this SEC. If not, some team's going to come in and hammer us on the offensive glass, and we'll take a loss that we should not have.
Cam Thomas will be at the free throw line. Jalen Williams is fouled out of this game. And it puts Thomas at the free throw line. Off the mark. Let's get to the studio. Here's Kevin Connors.
And Tom, we want to let you know Texas Tech, Texas underway right now over on ESPNU. The number 4 Horns, the only remaining unbeaten in Big 12 play outside of Baylor. You can see that game here on ESPN2 after we finish up in Baton Rouge.
All right, KC, thanks. Texas Tech, by the way, looking for its first ever road top 5 win. They are 0-25 in that scenario and try to get it against the Longhorns tonight. Thomas with the rebound. Not afraid to push, looking for points. And Days ends up the benefactor. He's got 18 now.
How many plays
What an interesting discussion, Jimmy, with Will Wade. Sorry, talking about you introduce a scorer like Cameron Thomas, a high volume shooter. yet it doesn't really impact the points and production of other guys on the team because it opens things up.
Yeah, that's that gap that I'm talking about that Cameron Thomas creates on the floor, because his ability to just jump up and rise up above, so you got to stay hugged up. He has terrific gravity ability as an offensive player, meaning the defense has to kind of shade him and be attracted to him at all times. And I asked Will, I said, how are those upperclassmen handled a kid like Cameron Thomas coming in and having such a high usage rate, a high shot rate? And he said, man, no issue whatsoever. They understand the value of him. Our guys want to win. My big four, talking about Thomas, Watford, Smart, and Days, they were watching ball last night, texting me as a head coach at home, watching games. And I didn't take that lightly, because there's not enough guys that do it. You know, they may have the game on, but they're messing around, screwing around, doing something else. His four core guys are really into ball. They're really into watching this league. And I thought that was a strong statement from Will. I loved hearing that about his kids.
Hoops junkies. Chemistry is a tough thing to come by in this inconsistent and abbreviated season. 10-second violation.
On that next game coming up, Texas and Texas Tech. I'm going to say it again: Gonzaga, Michigan, Iowa, and Baylor, best four teams in the country right now. And I think it's in that order. And right below them is where I would have the Texas, the Clemsons, the Villanovas, the Tennessees, the Florida States. There's a little bit of gap there. I don't know if any one of those other teams can close that gap down, because those four that I mentioned, whoo, man, I want no part of those four teams.
Red Raiders coming off of a dominating win against Iowa State. Dominating win for LSU. They'll shoot 53% tonight, and they'll hold Arkansas to 35% shooting. A 92-76 score, and the Razorbacks looking for one more. That won't work. Not much work for Arkansas tonight. Jimmy Joe, it was a true pleasure, my friend. LSU goes to 9-2. Let's get you to our resident foodie, Rich Hollenberg, standing by in Austin alongside Fran Fraschilla. It's Texas and Texas Tech.